If you do not control your focus, your business will ever stay stuck. You know that feeling of flow, the feeling that everything is just going in the direction you want it to go. You're executing fast, you're locked in, and everything's just clicking.
Yeah. Feels good when that happens.
It absolutely does.
And on the opposite end, have you ever felt like you were beating your head against a brick wall?
Over and over again.
Felt like you couldn't get in flow. You work on 97 projects, but none of them get done. So what are we talking about today?
So we are going to be talking about this flow state, this energy that comes upon all of us, that we all have inside of us, that we're able to bring out and get tasks done at a whole nother level. At a level of musicians, when they're in this state of nonstop, they just know what to do. They just feel the music, right? Or a writer, when they're an hour into writing, they just can't stop. Maybe a runner's high when they're running nonstop and they feel so good. They get that adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about how that flow state is not random. It's built.
That's what I wish I would have understood when I started, because I remember starting out in the business and I would get those spurts of like energy and flow, right? And you get on the calls, you're doing deals, you're working through things, and then those would happen occasionally, but I never systematically processed why, when, and where they happen.
Yeah.
So some days it was just like a grind, working 4 hours to do what took me 40 minutes the day before. And so now I realize there is a formula, and while there is a discipline that comes along with that, because you're not always going to feel motivated. Motivation comes and goes, but you can be disciplined to do it, yet you can put yourself in a state of flow.
Absolutely. So today we got some great smoky green tea from Kyoto. We got this a couple months ago and we haven't run out yet. And I want to go to Kyoto with some of you guys. I think that'll be a lot of fun. I think we're bound for another little.
Cheers to This is my favorite tea so
Japan
far
trip.
in the whole world out of all the teas that we drink. It has this, we went in 2023. We went to Kyoto.
December
2023. And it's Leo's birthday. And the Wagyu beef over in Japan is incredible. And I'm like, hey, bro, let's have a steak on me for your birthday. So we go to the steakhouse, and I ordered a hot tea. We both got some Wagyu. Best steak. I mean, incredible steak. And then the tea comes out, and it's this smoky tea. And I'm like, this is the best tea I've ever tasted. Leo tried some. He's like, that's really good. And so for an entire year, we wanted to get some of this tea. So in December 2024, we decided to go back again.
just for the tea.
And buy some bags of this to smuggle home. And here we are.
And that we did. So we're here talking about flow state now and how to build it. So everyone type in the chat locked in. Type in the chat locked in if you're ready. This morning I had such a good day. I had such a God-filled day. I was doing my prayer. I was reading my Bible, and I just felt it. I knew the flow was coming. I knew this Sunday, yesterday, I got such a good rest. I got exactly what I needed. So I knew today, this Monday, I was going to get all the things I need to get done. And I've been on. I've been so dialed in. And I want to give you some of that energy and explain to you how we get into flow state and why most people can't get into it.
Yeah. Well, and I think yesterday, we was having a conversation, and you're like, I rested good today. I feel good. I just know tomorrow's going to be a day of flow.
That's right.
And so I think you pretty much predicted it, stepped into it knowing. But most people never get into real flow for any amount of time because either they're overthinking and waiting for perfection. Any perfectionists on here? Self-diagnosed perfectionists, or constantly distracted on the what I call anxiety device. It's so easy to just grab it and start scrolling on social media, or remember texts that you forgot to respond to, or the moment you start to flow, then you remember the emails you didn't respond to yet. And so immediately all of these things come to you. And then another thing, lack of clarity always breeds inaction. And I see people all the time who go, gosh, like I have this hour or 2 hours set for the business, but they're doing all sorts of random crap in those moments and hours, just hoping that something moves the ball forward. And there is a way to be very determined, very specific, and in the movements you make sure those movements are moving you toward your vision and your goal. So how do we break out of that overthinking and out of the constant distractions, Leo?
So we'll get into that in a little bit. I have an entire flow for us later on today as we dive in, but we wanted to just break down really the primary things that hold people back, right? And we
You
have
got slides today.
I do have slides today. I prepped. I was cracked.
Give Leo a virtual hand clap. He created slide deck.
look at my little slides.
I like this.
So
Visuals.
The three biggest things that hold us back from a flow state is overthinking, like Andrew was saying, the anxiety device of number 2, the distractions. And then number 3 is a lack of clarity, right? We have this not knowing of what our next step is. We have this lack of decision making of, hey, I need to get this outcome done and I have an hour to do it, or I have a week to do it. And these 3 things together are what hold most entrepreneurs back on any given day. So type in the chat, which one is holding you back today or has been holding you back over the past couple of days? Is it number 1? Is it overthinking? Type in the chat 1. Is it distraction? Have you been on your phone, social media? Have you been talking to random people too much? What has it been? Or has it been number 3, like most people, which is a lack of clarity, a lack of the next steps, a lack of what to do in any given moment? Type
By the
in
way,
the chat.
I think that's the biggest killer. I see so many people who lack clarity. They have a general idea. I want to make more money. I want to do more business. I want to travel more, but there's no clarity of what the heck that even means.
Absolutely. So I just want to shout out some of you guys who are locked in. We got Mimi. What's up, Mimi? Good to see you.
I hope you're feeling so much better, my friend.
Mimi was going through it. We're praying for you always. Jerry, hello. Miss Les, what's going on? We got, where's everyone else?
There's Aiden.
Bill.
What's up, brother?
I was going to say Andrew, but that was me typing in there. Okay, so we're going to break down the science of flow. And this is really going to help understand where this comes from and how to actually start building it on any given day. I realized that, Andrew, you were out of the frame. Just scoot in a little. There you are.
Hey, everybody.
So everyone write this down. There is 3 ingredients to flow. There's clear intent. You know what your outcome is. You know that if you complete this outcome, what will happen for you? What is your intention behind it? What will it do for your life, for your business, for your family? You have the clear intention behind it. Number 2, you have deep focus. Now, this is an elimination of distractions.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to put blockers on your phone. You're able to put your phone in another room, maybe in a locked away in a box like I used to do before I had the discipline to get into focus myself. And then you have challenge meets skill.
What does that mean?
Now, challenge meets skill is such an important piece that I want to cover with you guys. This is, in essence, the idea that the task that you have in front of you needs to be engaging. You need to feel like you can do it.
Yeah.
You need to feel like it has essence to it, where if you do it, it's going to improve your life. It's going to move the task forward, but it can't be too overwhelming.
Right.
It's the balance between too easy and too hard. It's right in the middle of, hey, I can do this. It's challenging where it stimulates my mind, but I have the clarity of what to do. I can do this, and I might have to do a little bit of research, maybe just a little bit, but I can flow.
Yeah.
And I can move forward.
So I think that is a very powerful thing once we learn that formula, because that's what I accidentally found to work sometimes, Leo. But I love how you put it from stumbling upon it and sometimes struggling to come back to it to now it's a formula. And you just know, like, I can literally do A, B, and C. If I remove distractions, if I get clear on my vision, the likelihood of me going into flow state as I'm working on this vision goes way, way up. So let's talk a little bit about some examples of flow.
Let's do it. So we got those 3 ingredients. We have our clear intent, deep focus, and challenge meets skill. I think you guys understand clear intent and deep focus. We talk a lot about that on the show. But when it comes to challenge meets skill, Andrew, I think a great example would be a sales call flow. Let's break it down.
So I see so many people who will get into the habit of doing the easy part, right? Either nothing, which is the worst, easiest part, or saying, hey, I'm going to send some DMs, or I'm going to avoid getting on the phone and just send texts. And while I've closed a handful of deals on text, almost every deal I've closed, like 498 out of 500, like almost every deal has been by getting on the freaking phone. And so being able to correspond and to do busy work, knowing the likelihood of it leading to a desired outcome or a check, which is the point of the sales call, is avoiding the hard thing. Now, on the other hand, I've seen people get discouraged because they start cold calling and dialing, not knowing what the heck to say. Then they get jammed up on the call and they get lost in the call. And both are peekaboo. Both are very, very challenging to overcome, because if you're just doing the easy part, if you're just DMing people and texting people, you're probably not going to get a deal. On the other hand, if you're calling people, calling the wrong people, maybe following the wrong script, saying the wrong things, then you're just working harder to not get a result. So here's how we get into flow. Define your clear outcome. What's the objective of this sales call? Well, probably to make a sale. And then how do I get there? Find warm leads, or leads I can start warming up with a proven process. If I don't have one I can duplicate from somebody who does. And now I can begin having meaningful conversations, whether it be with scripts or whether it be through experience, that bring the call to a desired conclusion. Now that, for me, once you get into that, of course, there's always getting better. But that gives you the ability to say, all right, I'm not wasting my time. I'm not beating my head against a brick wall. If I actually remove all distractions and get into flow of sales calls for a period of a couple of hours a day, I'm very likely to do some deals. What would you have to add to that?
I think challenge meets skill. This is the direct formula for how to step into flow in every aspect of our life, starting with sales calls, right? Too easy, like we see here, is answering DMs without any engagement, or talking to leads, maybe texting them without any intention of following up. Too hard would be trying to cold call that entire list without any confidence, without any script, without any process yet, right? Because then you get stuck with saying, hey, I don't have a process. Right. These calls are going nowhere, but it feels like I'm working.
Yeah.
It's where a lot of people fall into. But now flow as a category is defined by having a proven process, because you're like, hey, it's too hard to call with zero confidence and zero process. So let me build a process out. Let me have something where, thank you so much, where I have a structure that when I'm talking to this lead, I can go throughout this script. And you know yourself better. You know yourself where you either like a full script or bullet points. I like bullet points. For this show, we have a bunch of bullet points here. And for us, flow would be making sure that we have bullet points for this show. For a cold call, for sales calls, it's making sure that we're talking to a warm lead in our CRM with a proven process. That proven process might just look like a script with bullet points.
Right.
So sometimes it's as simple as saying, hey, how can I make sure this task is as easy as possible for me, but there's still some challenge, for example, trying to get to the close, overcoming objections. But it makes it a lot easier when you have that process built out.
Something I've heard Alex Hormozi say is speed kills doubt. And I think that's a powerful thing about killing the waiting, killing the time that we just sit around and we just loop in our minds and we don't have clarity. Because if we can really focus on getting clarity and taking the action, then everything will change. I like how Tim Grover said, I wrote this down, that was important. It says, greatness is not something you have, it's something we do every single day.
I love that. Tim Grover was the coach, right? The personal trainer for MJ and Kobe, I believe.
I believe that's correct.
It's awesome. His books are really good. Example number 2, guys, is deep work, right? Deep work flow. So this is something so important because every day as we're building a business, me and Andrew, it is required for us to have at least 2 to 4 hours of deep work every single day. Some of that deep work is making decisions. Some of that is writing funnels, writing copy. Some of that is making sure that our team is on the right state of mind, making sure they know their tasks very well. Deep work is essentially focused work where we're covering and taking care of a task. Now, for some people, the too easy part is, you tweak a sentence over and over and over and over again, and you try to perfect that one sentence. The too hard, right, the overwhelming aspect is when we set a goal saying, I'm going to build an entire funnel. I'm going to build an entire project, this entire business plan in one sitting. And we end up not doing any work because it was too overwhelming. Now, flow then is setting a 25-minute timer, focusing on just, as I wrote here, the headline and the first section, the hero section. And your flow is going to be those 25 minutes, you are not stopping. You are just writing as much as you can, getting as much as you can done. And what you're going to experience is a lack, let me say this, the opposite of a lack of confusion.
An abundance of clarity.
You're going to have so much clarity on what the task is, what you need to get done, and how much time you have. So you have nothing else to think about. Your phone is in the other room. Nothing can catch you away from this flow state. You talk to your people around you if you're living with them and saying, hey, I'm about to go 25 minutes undistracted, focusing on this thing. That is the feeling of flow that we want to train you guys to build, and that I struggle with for so long, being able to jump into that type of flow.
Helps if you have a beautiful black coffee right before as well.
Absolutely. So, Andrew, talk to us about your sense of flow, and because I've witnessed you over the past 4 years of jumping in and out of flow, and how you didn't really have it before, but then you slowly developed it over time. Talk about that.
So prior to flow, all I had was grind and hustle. Like, I would just put in the freaking work. I would do the thing. And in doing that, I accomplished some pretty cool stuff. But it was head banging against a concrete wall, tough stuff. And so knowing that those times would come and I would experience a few hours of doing, say, sales calls in the office, and I'm doing these sales calls and I'm making deals and I'm collecting deposits and I'm selling deals and I'm moving the business along, I'm going, okay, this was cool. And what I've learned as we've worked together, Leo, is you've taught me it can be by design. And so now to get into flow, the most important thing, because we're running multiple businesses, multiple team members we're working with, all of the moving parts we have that go around. So it's very important for me that I always have a bunch of stuff on my mind, right? So for anybody listening, whether it's kids, grandkids, spouse, business, employees, team, partners, like job, you always got a crap ton of stuff on your plate. So you go, okay, how do I get this stuff off of my mind? And you, anytime I've come to you in the past and we would talk, you would say, just write it all down. So I will brain dump anything on my mind on a to-do list. And that way I now have it. I don't have to keep my mind, right? So for example, imagine that it is 8 p.m. at night and you say to yourself, oh crap, I forgot to email Bill back today. Okay. Tomorrow I got this meeting, boom, 2:00, I'll email Bill back. So now it's 8 p.m. You're watching a movie. I better remember to email Bill back. You go to sleep. Got to remember to email Bill back. Wake up, doing your morning routine. Got to remember. Every moment you're thinking, I have to do this thing. So what writing it down does in a place that you always check every day, it comes to your mind at 8, boom, email Bill back. Now over the next 24 hours, which if it's a short email, just pick up the darn phone and email him. But if it's a longer email or a process you have to go through, writing it down takes it from this loop in my brain that's going to take up probably 2 hours of space looping back over and over and over and over again to a 2 seconds writing it down in my notepad. And now tomorrow, when I get to the office, when I get to the place of work, when I'm at the airport, wherever I'm at, I'm going to grab that notebook and go, oh, yes, email Bill. Done. So now, because I have brain dumped everything on a sheet, I'm able to organize by importance, and then get into flow. And when you're in flow, you can just knock out stuff in such a easy amount of time that otherwise may feel like you're struggling to do. And a couple more notes on that is I make sure that I am doing my flow work in times when I'm well rested, preferably. Sometimes I have to knock out stuff when I'm mentally super tired. When I'm well rested and I've been in a place that is a good place to work. So I purposely create times. I'm going to be at an airport. I'm going to have my laptop. I'm going to connect to Wi-Fi, and I'm going to go to wherever the best place is. But I can now create a place for me to be able to get my brain into flow.
Do not treat your brain like your office or your file cabinets. Use the paper for that. Use systems and softwares for that.
That's good.
And make sure you save your brain for the flow, for the decision making, for the creativity, because that is where it's best used. Anytime that I've ever used my brain to store to-do lists, the next day I am drained out.
Always.
And that's how a lot of people operate on any given day. So before I give you guys the routine that me and Andrew follow on now any given day, we got to make sure these two things are covered. How to prime your brain for flow.
Oh, this is good.
So Andrew was saying how he had to make sure he was rested. He had to make sure he was in a good state of mind and was in a good place, a good work environment in order to fully get into flow. Because if you're in a desk and there's 19 things on the table, guess how many things are up in your mind, including all the work that you have to do. All of those items are stuck in your mind. Hey, I have to clean this. I have to move this. I have these 14 stacks of papers all in front of me. And you have no room to actually think and process and creatively create. So first, guys, type in the chat, energy matters. If you're exhausted, there is no chance that you're going to hit flow because your body is not going to get into a point where it allows you to focus on the work because it's focused on you need some rest.
Right.
And it's going to be screaming at you the whole time. And it's a lot harder to be disciplined, to shut off the mind that is soft, that mind that says, hey, Leo, you don't have to work today.
Right.
You don't have to get up. It's been a long day. It's much harder to shut that off.
That's something very important as we're sometimes not rested. If you're tired, oh my goodness, everything becomes 20 times worse.
It does. It absolutely does. So make sure that in this essence that you are getting your energy right. You are getting your sleep, whether you know yourself and it's 7 hours, it's 8 hours, whatever it is, put that as a priority. Because again, if we don't get into flow, if we're not focused, our business stays stuck.
Right.
Then if it goes all the way down to the fact that we need energy in order to get flow, to get unstuck, then sleeping is a big part of your priority. The next piece is that your environment matters. Right in the chat, your environment matters. Another big priority piece is when we realize that we have to set up our space for deep work. Whether you have a corner in your office, whether you have a whole office, whether you have a whole home that is set up for deep work, you need that.
I don't recommend this, but I remember 2020 when I was going through a tough time. 2019 and 2020. I would try to flow and work, and I would have stacks of papers and all the crap going on my desk. So I would have this ginormous mountain of stuff. And in order to get into flow, I would have my room I was working in. I would leave that very messy room, and I would go to another room. My cleaning lady would come every single week, bless her heart. And so I would go to the next room, and now I would be in flow because it was clean and it was crisp and it was organized. And I would work in there while I call that my rich room, so I could get in the rich mindset and into the millionaire mindset to deal with the activities I needed to. And the disorganized, messy space felt so horrible to me, so mentally cluttered. And that was so important. So the biggest thing I want you to note if you're struggling with flow is it's not random, it's created. You create your environment, you create your space, you create your energy. Not always is it possible to go to bed on time, but most of the time we can figure out a way that we can get to bed at a reasonable time and get enough sleep. And so now we realize that flow time isn't created at 5 a.m. in the morning from getting up at 5 only, but from the fact did we go to bed early enough to get enough sleep? So if we lack clarity or we have any confusion, you're always going to lack flow. So something else that I didn't realize when I used to be just grinding it out and in the office dialing nonstop, all I had was a goal to say I need to get to this number of deals this week, this month, this year. And so my objective was I got to hit these numbers. I got to hit these numbers. And I knew I wanted to give more, help more, give back more, but I didn't have a specific thing to say, okay, this is what I'm building. Like I need to get this, and this piece to move the vision forward. Because as humans, we're always going to be building, right? We're always going to be impacting and empowering and always giving back to others. And it's never enough when it's not about you. Yet when we get so focused on just the next number or just the next thing, it can be easy to feel stressed or to lack clarity of where in the heck are we actually going.
So what Andrew's saying is that clarity is power, and clarity is the key and the piece that we all need in order to move our business forward. Because we know we need flow, because flow allows us to create. We need to create. We need to do better sales calls. We need to make better funnels. We need to hire better people in our team in order for the business to grow naturally. But that requires a flow state. That requires an undistracted state from us as the business owners. Us as the business owners are what's going to move the business forward. So it all cycles in together. But what Andrew is saying is that flow is not random. It is created. We have to set up our space. We have to set up our energy. We have to set up our life in a way that allows us to get into an undistracted state. And then we have to make sure that the natural essence of life, of living in 2025, have to be taken care of, right? Because the same thing that distracts us is the same thing that's going to make us millions of dollars.
Right.
And it's the power that you choose. You can choose to let the phone distract you. You can choose to continue using the apps in a way that they want it to be made, which is that you're stuck on it, on the slot machine, on the Reels, on TikTok, on YouTube Shorts, all these things. Or you can use that productively in taking one of our previous shows that we talked about, which is being a producer over a consumer, right? We're constantly producing. We produce not just for the reason of putting things out and so you guys can enjoy it, but we have to stay in a mindset of producing.
Right.
We have to stay in an essence of saying, hey, I'm not going to allow myself to be a consumer in this world and in this game. I'm going to produce, and everything I do, all the high income skills I create are for the idea of producing.
Now, I want to add something when it comes to stepping into flow, because we have a lot of people listening here that are really hard workers.
Absolutely.
And I was raised in the country boy on a farm, and I didn't ever go to the gym. My gym was baling hay and packing shingles up the ladder. So going back down memory lane a bit. Now, I share that because I knew hard work. I know how to work really freaking hard. And so in order to do that, in order to get into business, I was like, okay, I'm just going to work harder. And I seen people who didn't work hard, who were the L word, lazy. And I was like, I never want to be like that. So I was very intent on I'm going to outwork everybody. And I share that because some of you guys have incredible work ethics. You hang out with us, you work hard, you do the things, you're willing to do whatever it takes, which I love. But because I was so focused on not being the lazy person, I would just push. I was like, I don't know what I'm pushing for, but I'm going to push. This may not be working, but I'm going to keep doing it because I'm not going to be lazy. And I didn't realize there's a big difference between being lazy and taking a step back. People of wealth, people who work really hard but also really smart, take moments and say, okay, I need to sit back and look what's working. How do I adjust my life? How do I adjust this lead source? How do I adjust this sales call? How do I take what's working and do more of it? And how do I take what's not working and do less of it? And so for me, understanding that, yes, we work hard, but also that taking a step back, that your downtime will determine your uptime, was a tough one for me to understand. But once I finally grasped that, our whole business changed.
Type that in the chat And remember it. Your downtime determines your uptime. That has been, I don't want to say single-handedly, but one of the most impactful things that you taught me, Andrew, and that we together utilize on any given day.
So true.
If we don't have our Sundays to do our Sabbath, to really relax and like allow ourselves to listen to the word of God, to go to church, to just rest our bodies, then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is not as nearly as good.
My dad always says, God rested on the seventh day. It wasn't because he was tired. It's because he wanted to be an example for us.
Absolutely. And I realized that over years, right? And that's why I say that. And I could say like, oh yeah, Sunday, doing the Sabbath makes me feel better.
Yeah.
But it's because over the past 4 years, the days that I had my Sabbath, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, is so much stronger.
Yeah.
It allows me to really, really be intentional because Sunday is all about intention. So that goes back to us talking about one of the first ingredients in flow is clear intent. Having the intention of what it is that you're doing. Why are we here? Why are we building? Why are we doing sales calls? To in essence, it's going to be to create income, to create freedom for our lives. But why? Why at the end of the day are we doing this? And it's a very deep spiritual question.
Yeah.
But this is what we do here. We ask these questions to you so you can continually be intentional about everything that you're doing. And when you do, flow gets a lot easier.
Flow is where your peak performance happens.
Absolutely. Now, for me, guys, flow has been a constant struggle. It's been something that I've wrestled with since I started entrepreneurship. Having my phone, having social media, having hit 1 million followers and the month that I hit 1 million followers on TikTok was the worst month for business because I was so addicted to my phone at that time because you would scroll and there would be 40,000 people that just seen your videos. And it was an addiction for sure. But even today, like today I'm locked in, I'm dialed in, I'm doing my work, I'm getting everything done. But it took a lot of time this morning to make sure I was in that flow. And I know last week I didn't have my Sunday. I didn't have my intentional time. I didn't know what I was doing because we forget sometimes. We're humans. We'll go on social media and we'll kind of get lost of what it is that we're doing. So last week, I remember I didn't have a Sunday, right? We had a crazy Sunday. We did a lot of things. And that next Monday, I was wiped. I was like, I need today to just do nothing for a minute. But still, it's not the same on a Monday when you got so much to do. And then you get that sleep debt.
Yeah.
And then you got that, how do you call it? The guilt of I should be working and I should be building.
Yeah.
So going back to this Sunday idea, I want to make sure to lock it in with you guys, especially those of you who are on this walk and who are kingdom driven, that when you spend a Sunday to rest, you have no entrepreneur guilt.
Oh, that's good.
You have no guilt of I should be working because really in the word it says, I believe, on Sunday, that is your time to rest. God rested on Sunday. Mm-hmm. God rested on the seventh day.
On the seventh,
on the seventh day. So give yourself that time to rest. So Monday, you have the intention. You know exactly what it is to do. But when I created a ritual, when I created a routine to get myself back into flow, that's when everything changed. So do you guys mind if I share the routine with you guys? Type in the chat yes. Type in the chat yes if you want me to share the Truca Flow ritual that me and Andrew follow.
You guys are going to love this.
It's really simple. It's really simple, but I find that if I have a written flow that somebody else gave me, I'm like, okay, now I can lock in. I don't know what it is. But me and Andrew will break it down.
Formula to follow.
Formula to follow. That's right. All right. Here we go.
I had a quote here. I was trying to remember. I was reading Lean Marketing last week. A quote here from William Faulkner. He said, I only write when I'm inspired. In other words, I only work when I'm inspired. But fortunately, I'm inspired at 9 o'clock every single morning.
There you go.
And so as we're getting ready to go into the ritual, the point is it takes discipline. We choose inspiration.
I love it. All right, here's everybody. I realize everyone's in.
What's up, Anthony? Teresa, hello.
We have a good mix of Facebook and YouTube.
What's up, Les?
All right, cool.
Looneyville, hello there.
So let me break this down. Step one's going to be the most important. I can share our notes here, right?
think so.
Okay,
Hey,
boom.
there we are.
There, you can just see. This is how we prep for the show, by the way. We just have this in front of us. So the Truca Flow ritual, it's 3 steps to make sure that you can create flow on demand. Step 1, write it down, have it somewhere, copy the show, whatever you need to do. Number 1 is eliminate distractions, which in essence is controlling your environment. We need to make sure that we know that our phone, yes, can make us millions of dollars. It's made me and Andrew millions of dollars, but it's also lost us millions of dollars in opportunity cost because of the distraction that it's created in our lives. So if you need to use your phone,
my screen time.
Exactly. We check each other's screen time about every 3 days. If you need to do sales calls and you're using your phone, then it's the discipline of saying, okay, let me make sure that these 30 minutes, this hour, this 90 minutes of sales calls is just simply using the phone app. And you can use apps like Opal. I use an app, OPAL, plug on them to block the distracting apps from my phone because I have the screen timer that makes sure that I only have 15 minutes, but I can still use them. So I make sure to use an app called Opal that completely gets rid of my social media apps unless I want to go in there, go through a couple loopholes, and create a break for myself.
Shall I share my screen time live?
If you want to.
Never mind.
I would be proud to share mine. So your workspace is either built for flow or it's built for distraction. So if you have a workspace and your phone is around there and a TV's right there and a bed is right there, it's very easy to allow your human nature to step in and allow yourself to be comfortable or go onto the phone or do the things that distract you and don't give you the ability to go into flow.
That's big. And I think as we get clarity, we start to understand, write it down. Step 2, get clear on 1. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways, James said. Get clear on 1 mission. No clarity means no flow. So anytime we start to feel jammed up or hitting that brick wall, it's usually because we aren't clear of where we're headed. If we're clear where we're headed, then we know, hey, this is what we need to do to get there. This is the action I need to be taking. Get clear on 1 mission. If you know you have 1 objective this week, and it's to get X dollars and X sales, if it is to get whatever your objective is, to connect with 1 new lender, to contract 1 deal, if you set down and then planned your vision for the next 5 years, 3 years, or even 1 year, everything you do, we chunk it down. We now know our 1 mission this week is to find 1 new lender, is to contract 1 new deal, is to get an answer on 1 thing. And if we have that clarity of 1 mission and 1 focus that we're building toward over years, we have a decades long plans written out because we know in 30, 40, 50, 60 years, this is where we want to be. This is where we're headed. This is the kind of companies we want to have built. And what's going through your mind?
Yeah, we have the plan when we're 60, exactly what we're going to do.
Yes.
It's probably not going to happen exactly the way it is, but we plan so far ahead that we can look back and know that everything we do will affect the future grandkids, the future kids that I have. So let me make sure that the moves that I'm taking are in essence of that, are respecting that vision that we're crafting.
I think that's so important because, again, for years, I just ran in this little loop of like doing what's in front of me. And so knowing like we're headed to this certain place, we want to impact the world in this certain way because so many people get caught up in the next shiny object. Let me just get the next sell. Let me get the next customer. Let me get the next whatever. And it becomes a very overwhelming cycle. But if we can really understand our 1 mission and be clear on it, then everything will change. So do yourself a favor and put it in the chat. What's 1 thing that you need to get done today? What's 1 thing that you will commit to getting done today? Is it making a phone call, sending an email, connecting with a client? What's 1 thing that you need to get done today?
Now we'll do a live show. We have it on the calendar to go over vision. We're probably going to run a workshop as well of how to craft your vision. And when we ask these questions, guys, of like, what is the one task you need to get done today? And make sure you type it in the chat. That's going to get a lot more clear. And you're going to build the skill of prioritization and the skill of singularifying a task of what you need to get done. We know the tasks that we need to get done today because we know what it's going to do for us in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years. Now, for you, you might just say, this at least is going to move me towards that place. If I make 5 sales calls, or if I clean the office up, or if I have a conversation with my business partner, or if I have a conversation with this person, it's at least going to move me in the direction that I want to go. But I want you guys to be in a place where you say that in 5 years, I want to be in this type of home. I want my business to be making this type of impact, $5 million in revenue, and I want to be at this percent of growth, and making sure that you can find the next step that moves you towards that place. Maybe you need a business partner. Maybe you need a salesperson. Maybe you need more of a support system. Maybe you need a new funnel, right? If you don't have a funnel, how are you going to get people into your business to buy? So these type of things make you a better business owner, make you a better entrepreneur, make you a better leader because you have the skill of prioritization. So this leads us, guys, into step number 3, which is the flow activation. This is what I use almost every single day in order to get my things done. Now, Andrew does a very similar fashion, and we'll show you how we do it together. But I want to make sure, I want to see what you guys have for the one task that you got to get done. There, we got a lot of them. Okay. Mimi says, get clear on one mission. Oh, no, that was our thing. Les says, responding to client check-ins. Anything to say on that, Andrew?
No, that's good. And something I want to share for all of you guys, I call this a frame of thinking, is how can I duplicate action? So if I'm responding to clients, is this something I just need to schedule every day? Maybe it is early in the game, but is this something that I could potentially have my assistant do if I just track how I'm responding? So many times I do things throughout the day and it dawns on me, oh my gosh, I should have one of my assistants to handle this. And so Gail, shout out to Gail if she's on here. She's amazing. And she's texted me multiple times a day. We are always going back and forth and we talk every few days on Zoom. And she's always asking me, anything else I can do for you today? And she'll see me doing something I shouldn't be doing. And she'll text me, hey, I can handle that for you. So ask yourself constantly, be that for yourself. Is this something that I can hand off? Well, Andrew, I don't have an assistant yet. That's cool. But soon you will have. So be preparing the mental space so that when you do hire that person, you immediately have a list to start training them on.
That is a beautiful point. And this is the next level when you can find out exactly what you need to do. And you can ask yourself, is that something a team member could do? Is that something someone else can do? Or who has the answer of getting this done? And then your job as an entrepreneur, your job as the business owner is be able to delegate that to the right people and the right team until people bring you their decisions. Hey, I need to make this one or this one. Which one should I do? And now that is your job. So let's jump into this. I want to go through a couple more. So Les was responding to client check-ins, Aiden's calls.
What's up, brother?
I would put down the amount of calls that you want to make or the amount of time that you want to make calls. For example, I want to make calls for an hour. And that means for an hour, you're just locked in making those calls. And because calls, in essence, gives us so much room to not do it, to do anything else. Because that could mean one call, right? If I say I'm going to do calls today and I did one call and someone keeps me accountable, hey, do your calls? Yeah, I did my calls. There's no accountability there. But if it's an hour of calls, or I'm going to do 25 calls, conversations, or I'm going to put 2 offers in. Now there's accountability there. Where I can say, Aiden, do you get 2 offers in? How many offers you get in? I got 1, or I got 3, I got 5. It's deeper accountability. And this is another conversation we'll have on another show, guys, we have all year, to go over these. So you don't want to miss it. That's why every single day you want to be on these, because we're going to plant these huge lessons in, and we only have
major FOMO
an hour every single day. But if it's, I'm going to do 1 hour calls, I'm going to send in 2 offers, then there is true accountability there. So I'm going to skip everyone else who had calls because same thing. Send clients forms for purchase. I would give yourself more in depth of what this means, right? I know this is you're just quickly putting it in the chat, but the more details, the better for every single one of you guys. Okay, perfect. Bill is connect with Cherry Owns. There you go, Bill. That one's easy. So let's go to step 3 before we wrap up here. Step 3 is the flow activation. Voice crack. So here we go.
Brain dump.
You're going to brain dump, prioritize, lock in, and execute. I thought I had a lot more scientific thing that I do, but honestly, this is what I came up with. I first take a sheet of paper and I just brain dump everything I need to get done. My dreams, who to text back, emails I have to get to, calls I have to make, content I have to make, everything that I have to do, I put it down in a brain dump. Now it's about 50 things. Andrew's is about 150 things because he's running 2 other companies at the same time. So we'll have about 50 to 200 things together. And then our job is to prioritize what it is that we need to do. What is urgent and important to get done now? What can be done in 2 minutes so we can just start knocking those out? What can be delegated? All these questions that we ask ourselves, we prioritize. That is a skill that we build every day, is to prioritize. Next, you lock in. You define the thing that is the most urgent, the most important that you need to get done, and you lock in on that one thing. And it's about starting. This is really, I should really just put start in here, because in order to lock in, you have to start. You have to just say, okay, I'm just going to sit down and get it done. It's a lot easier if you tell yourself, I have 60 minutes to get this done, start the timer, move the phone away, and get it done. But the most important thing is that 1 minute, you just start. And that is what executing is. That is how you execute. That's how you finish. That's how you move forward in your business and in your life, is when you just start, you lock in, you know what you're doing because you prioritized. And before the brain dump, you also know the vision that you want to get to, but that's going to be for a later show. Andrew, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's a powerful thing to just start, because as we step into flow, as we determine we're going to start every single day, we're going to be committed with our time. And when you find yourself coming to your work time or your flow time and you don't lack clarity, you do lack clarity, you're doing yourself a disservice to just try to, plow through and to just try to make it happen and just to go through and do it. Because if you take those 5-10 minutes to gain that clarity and to brain dump, you can now look and say, okay, this is what I now need to work on. I often ask people if they'll give me a number they need to make in a certain amount of time, especially in a cash crunch. And I'll name their number. Let's say it's 100K in 90 days. I'll say, if you had a gun to your head and you had to make 100K in 90 days, what would you do? And of course, some of them say I would die. And others say, okay, I know how to wholesale a property. I would immediately start dialing. Got it. I know how to make sales. I would immediately start selling. Got it. I know how to do this skill. I would immediately start doing this thing. And so then we look at it. Many times we know what to do, or we at least know who to get the information from of what to do. But we are not doing it because we're living in our own mind, wallowing in whether it be insecurity or lack of clarity and loops and saying too many words to ourselves about who knows what, can I really do this, and what if this happens? And we're living in this loop. And when we take all the crap out and all the fluff out, and we say, what are we actually trying to get to? Well, X number in X days, or X result in X time. So just remember, flow doesn't start when you feel ready. It starts when you decide to start.
Boom. So right after this call, guys, I challenge you guys. It's going to be super simple. We're going to keep it short and keep it around the basis of starting. Right after this call, I want you to lock in for 5 minutes.
Just 5?
Just 5
minutes.
Just
5.
You're just locking for 5 minutes without any distractions on a particular task that you have to get done. Why do I want you to lock in for 5 minutes and not 5 hours? Because if you see 5 hours, your brain's going to be like, that's not happening, right? Your brain's going to get overwhelmed. But if you start reading, for example, for 5 minutes and you're locked in for 5 minutes with the practice of flow, it's going to be a whole lot easier to keep going for another 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 90. So I just want you to lock in for 5 minutes without any distractions because we're just building this skill. Flow is not luck. It is a skill. The more we understand
That's a writer downer.
that, right in the chat, flow isn't luck. It's a skill. You don't wait for it. You create it. And the winners are the ones who learn how to turn it on any given day, any given hour, and be able to step into an energy of no distraction, an energy of full clarity of I know exactly what to do, and the energy of the professionals who have been doing what they've been doing for 10 years.
Yeah.
And you can step into that without having done the thing for 10 years.
That's powerful.
So I want every single one of you guys to drop your biggest takeaway in the chat because this was a big lesson. I know we have a lot of incredible people in here who are taking notes, but do it for the people who watch after. We have about 1,000 people who watch this show after the fact that it's live. And you guys are the ones who are live, who are here, who are gaining these insights right away, talking to us in the chat. We're seeing all your writing here. Drop your biggest takeaway so the people who come after can also see that, and we can share the type of abundance, share the type of growth, and everyone can learn amongst each other.
This is good. So as you're typing your takeaways, I want to remind you that flow isn't luck. It is a skill. Flow is not something we randomly step into. It's something we choose when we say it's going to happen. As you guys are developing your skills and your business, I think it's Tony Robbins, isn't it? That says where focus goes, energy flows.
Yes.
And I think that's such a powerful remembrance. I think that's such a powerful perspective because if we can really put our focus, what gets focused on gets fixed. And when we start to take control and ownership of our life, our whole world will shift.
Absolutely.
Because we're no longer sitting there watching life happen to us. We are taking control, taking action, and being grateful that life is happening for us. Everything happens for a reason, and it always works out like it should.
100%. Guys, it's been a wonderful day. We're going to be back here tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. And we have a lot to share. And we have a lot of big plans. And the Truca Show is growing. We are growing every day. We have so many different projects moving. And we want to have you guys be involved. This is a family. This is a tribe. We are building every single day with you guys. So make sure to continue showing up. We have big topics like creating your vision. We have big topics like understanding your finances, how to put your money into play. We have becoming the greatest steward for your team. All these great topics are lined up, and I'm just so excited to see you guys again.
See you tomorrow. Same place, same time, guys. Thank you for being here.
Peace. See you later. Bye-bye.